Cal Newport is an expert on productivity in the domain of knowledge work. And AI is the number one productivity tool for knowledge workers. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I used AI tools to enhance my understanding of some of Cal Newport's important principles. Along the way, I'm going to show you some of the key takeaways and practices so that you can put some of these into your workflow. This all started when I listened to an episode of the Huberman Lab podcast featuring Cal Newport. I've been familiar with Cal Newport and the concept of deep work for some time. This episode really deepened my understanding of some of Cal Newport's ideas. As an entrepreneur who helps other business owners leverage tools for productivity and take things to the next level, I have pretty strong thoughts on what productivity means. In my experience, productivity isn't found in a traditional corporate environment. And depending on what your business needs and goals are, it's going to look different for a lot of businesses. If you're working on your own, the early stages of entrepreneurship, it can be tough to find, especially if you're coming from a team environment where you really value and get fuel from collaboration. That's something that I've missed since I've started the journey as an entrepreneur. Autonomy feels good, but unless you're delivering and shipping product every week, which in the early stages, it's unlikely that you are, the day-to-day can kind of feel like spinning your wheels. So the question becomes how to find satisfaction in meaningful work. As a solo entrepreneur, communicating what I do is part of that meaningful work. And in doing so, I'm slowly building a community around a shared vision for the future. So if satisfaction can't be found in delivering and shipping product every day or every week, we need a bigger picture system that allows us to take into account slow productivity. My current system divides time into 5-year, year-long, quarterly, weekly, and daily goals. So for now, in the sake of this video, I'm going to stick to the framing of weekly and daily goals because that's where a lot of us have the opportunity to leverage enhanced systems. So this breakdown that I'm about to give you is, again, my personal system. At the beginning of the week, I set a block of time to creating and documenting goals for the week ahead. And I categorize those goals into professional, personal, and administrative categories. Because in my experience, in order to do those 3 different types of work, I'm really leveraging different parts of my cognition and concentration. So I keep those 3 things distinct. And then one day in advance, I lay out what my day is going to look like. And this includes the chronological order of the day, a separate list that includes the various to-dos, and then I have space for 1 to 3 mission-critical activities. Those are the must-dos, and I repeat that every day of the week. For me, every day is the same. It doesn't matter if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or the weekend. I like to make the most out of every one of my days, and that involves planning in advance. Then once the week is complete, anything that didn't get completed gets reassessed and potentially added on to the next week's goals and objectives. And this is all happening on paper. That has its advantages and disadvantages. Some of the advantages for me are focus and digital minimalism. One of the disadvantages is ease of retrieval. Retrieving information from an analog database requires physical presence. But I'm always looking for ways to improve, and that's where Cal Newport on the Huberman Lab podcast comes in. So as a lot of you may know, Huberman Lab has some pretty long episodes. This one was just under 3 hours, and I listened to the whole episode all the way through and got a lot out of it. A little bit later, I'm going to show you how I use AI to enhance my understanding. And for anybody that wants to get the core ideas from a podcast without listening to all 3 hours of it, there's a way to use AI to do that, and I'm going to show you how I use it. It doesn't involve double playback speed or any type of speed listening techniques, so stick around and we'll get into that. Here are some of my key takeaways just from the listen. First is deep work. We benefit from blocking off chunks of time, 90 minutes to 2 hours, to really focus on something that requires our full concentration. Instead of saying, oh, I'm going to work on this report or generate this sales plan, and oh, I'm feeling a little distracted, so I'm going to take a break and check my emails, then I'll get back to it. It's really best during that deep work block to focus, solely on that task. And as part of that, when you start a task, it's natural to feel a little bit of agitation or maybe frustration for the first 15 minutes or so. That's really just our brain and body getting the right neural circuitry online to work on that particular task. For me, that's really helpful to understand that that's kind of just part of the process. Next is the concept of knowledge workers. We all know what knowledge workers are. You're probably one of them. As a knowledge worker, you use your brain professionally. Because of that, you want to figure out systems and practices and routines that allow you to get the most out of your mental capabilities. Switching tasks a lot or taking on overly cognitive demanding tasks on the fly, rapidly shifting gears is not the optimal way to do that. Think of the analogous optimization for professional athletes, people who use their bodies at the highest levels professionally. Professional athletes are proactive about getting the optimal physical output. Their coaches and managers don't have them show up and do random manual labor tasks to prove that they're working hard. Professional athletes don't do that because that would be crazy. But that's effectively what most professional knowledge workers are doing when they spend most of their days in Zoom, constantly shifting context or delivering low priority work in an urgent manner. And then the next takeaway that really stuck out for me was the concept of a pull system for managing tasks. Most companies, most managers have us working in a push system where they're constantly asking us to do new tasks and add them to our docket. And it's up to us to effectively figure out the right way to deliver on them. What Cal Newport advocates for instead is a pull system. And what that means is that there may be a docket of tasks, all of which aren't being worked on unless they're the top one or two. Then once those are completed, another one and two get pulled in. This pull system could be a better way of getting people to focus more deeply on the true priorities. I thought that was really cool. So at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that I was going to show you how I use AI to enhance my understanding of this content and content like this in general. So now I'm going to show you the analyzer tool that I developed and some of the additional takeaways I was able to extract. So on the right side here, we have the app that I built. And on the left side, we have Andrew Huberman's Huberman Lab Podcast YouTube page. So the way the app works, it leverages a large language model API to create reports and summaries and extract action items from YouTube videos. So here's the episode with Cal Newport. We'll just right click here, copy the link, paste it in there, and click Analyze. So we can see here that the app generated the result, which is report and summary of this podcast episode. It includes a title analysis to make sure that the title of the episode and YouTube video is accurate according to the content of the video. We got an abstract summary. I also like to do a thumbnail analysis since YouTube is filled with clickbait, attention-grabbing thumbnails. Key points, and my favorite for Huberman Lab is the action items. So the app allows you to download the report. And here I have the report open. So from the action items, here are some of my top takeaways that I got from this AI analyzer. First is this concept of multiscale planning. This is something that I'm already doing. So the way it is summarized here is plan on a daily, weekly, seasonal, or quarterly scale to ensure progress on important objectives and manage time effectively. That's what I talked about when I mentioned that I plan on 5-year, year-long, quarterly, weekly, and daily timeframes. So I'm already doing it, and there's an opportunity to strengthen certain aspects of this as well. One thing that I'm going to do is make sure that communication gets its own block on a daily and weekly basis. This is something that a lot of us can struggle with because in this day and age, people expect pretty rapid communication. But if people understand that you're delivering high value results, they can curb their expectations. The next big takeaway was the benefits of active recall. So active recall is essentially just recalling information from memory without referring to notes or resources. And this is one of the most effective ways to learn. I have a memory palace practice. It's a tool for active recall, and this is a good incentive to continue to strengthen that. The next big takeaway right here is Pursue alternatives to digital distraction. A lot of us have recognized that digital technologies and social media applications can be a huge distraction and impediment to productive work. The challenge that a lot of us face is when we seek to reduce the time that we spend with digital distractions, we're often left with a void. So what Cal Newport advocates for is pursuing alternatives, maybe a new activity, hobby, or social engagement that can really fill that void. And in his experience, people that do that have much better success reducing their digital distractions. After that, the next big takeaway that I had was this concept of solitude deprivation, ensuring periods of the day where one is free from stimuli created by other human beings, which can help prevent brain exhaustion and anxiety. The point here that Cal Newport was making is that a lot of us, we're not used to the feeling of being alone or free from the stimulation of other humans. A lot of us don't spend our working days with other humans, but maybe we spend a lot of time on Zoom or reading their messages. If we're not doing work, a lot of us are listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos. All of these are forms of stimulation from other people. In the long run, it can be beneficial to be accustomed to going periods of time with no stimulation from others. Embrace solitude. This is a point that Andrew Huberman brought up, which is that periods of reduced sensory input can lead to hyperplasticity responses, enhancing learning and creativity. So what that means is that if you go for a period where you embrace the solitude, you go without the stimulation from other people, immediately following that, your brain is going to be hyperplastic. And any new information or learning that you do in that hyperplastic period is going to be absorbed much more rapidly. So the last takeaway that I want to mention here is the shutdown ritual. Cal Newport advises establishing a routine to close open loops at the end of the workday, clearly demarcating the transition to personal time, which helps prevent work-related ruminating during off hours. And in the episode, he says, create a phrase or have a checkbox on your daily planner so that you know, your brain knows that work is done for the day. This is one of the awesome things about Cal Newport's ideas and approach to productivity is that it is not about hustling. It is focused on deep work and meaningful results that people you work for, customers you serve, highly value. That means that when the day is done, your body and your brain can be done with the workday. And a great way to make sure that that happens is to create that ritual shutdown. That's something I've never done before. And I'm really excited to see how incorporating that into my day impacts my quality of life away from work. So these takeaways in the report are just my top takeaways. There is so much information in the episode. I highly recommend checking it out. If you would like access to my YouTube video analysis tool, be sure to leave a comment below and I'll put you on the wait list to be notified for beta testing. Using this AI analysis tool for YouTube is huge leverage for reabsorbing the information. This app is a tool that's super simple to use. All you do is put the URL from YouTube in there, hit analyze, and it will generate the report for you so that you can get extra information from a YouTube episode that you've already watched. Or if you want to put a YouTube video link in there for content that you're considering consuming, it can help you understand at a high level what's going to be covered in there to see if it's going to be worth your time. If you want access to the summarizer, put a comment below and I'll be sure to add you to the wait list to be notified when it's ready for beta testing soon. Productivity, actual productivity, is important. For business, it's critical. Depending on what industry you're in, productivity is going to look different. If it's manufacturing, units per hour, agriculture, bushels per acre or hectare, the energy industry, you're looking at percent of the system's total capacity. Those are examples of productivity from industry to industry. And just about, if not every industry, has knowledge workers. If you're the leader of a company, an entrepreneur, yeah, you can look at annual or quarterly profit as an indicator of success. How do you measure it on a day-to-day? Again, that's going to vary depending on the role. But the key measure is not how fast you spin your wheels and how many fires you put out. That's the illusion of productivity. Success requires deep work and often slow productivity. That's why, in addition to leveraging AI tools, I'm excited to put some of these principles into practice. Again, these are just some of my top takeaways. I highly recommend this episode of the Huberman Lab podcast. I'm a big fan of the Huberman Lab in general, and I'm looking forward to checking out more of Cal Newport's work, including his new book, Slow Productivity, and I'll be sure and keep you all up to date on how it's working for me. And if you stuck around this far, you're probably interested in AI and leveraging AI for productivity and other systems that you can leverage to be more effective. If that's you, then feel free to subscribe, because that's the type of thing that I will continue to cover in this channel. And if you'd like to, go ahead and tap that like button, and you know what? Don't hit the bell icon. You don't need that notification. You can get to it whenever. All right. That's all for now, my productive and empowered friends. We'll see you on the next one.